Thank you, councillors. Welcome back to the recommence of the adjourned meeting. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land which meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and we pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, noting that apologies are Councillor Podovnik and Councillor Parry is on leave. With that, we'll go straight to item C 1.2, which is Councillor Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So my motion is that Council resolve to initiate a workplace culture review for councillors at the City of Swan and request a report back to Council with details of the scope of the review, quotations from an appropriate organisation or consultant to undertake the review and the budget for approval by Council. The reason for the motion is that workplace culture reviews provide an opportunity to identify issues, improve work practices and bring about positive behavioural change. Whilst councillors are not considered employees of the City of Swan, the council environment is like a workplace and should be a safe and healthy environment for councillors to carry out their work. A workplace culture review for councillors would provide the council with an opportunity to look for improvements in the lead up to the council election.
Seconder. Councillor Johnston, I think you might have been first there. Is there anyone against? No one against. We'll declare it carried.
Nobody.
Now item C 1.3, which is myself, so I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
It's on page 829, councillors, and I'll hand over to Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Council. Councillors, I move that Council resolve to scope and design the upgrade of the Ellenbrook District Open Space Pavilion North to ensure that the refurbishment of facility and associated storage is suitable for the quantity of players, sports played, age and gender of playing groups using the facility. Allocate $100,000 via budget adjustments towards the scoping and design stages of the project from the 21-22 budget. The reason for this motion is to ensure that the Ellenbrook District Open Space Pavilion North facility is upgraded in a timely manner and is reflective of the significant number of user groups playing at that facility.
Seconded, Councillor Jones. Is there anyone against?
Deputy Mayor, sorry.
Bailey. Yeah, I've noted that, but I've got a question first.
I'm interested in whether $100,000 would be enough to complete that work. Whether it needs to be increased or whether that's a reasonable, an appropriate amount to complete the work.
Mr Coaten.
Well, the scope hasn't been exactly detailed. It's certainly, we haven't analysed that amount.
But it is just for at the moment for the scoping and design. Is that correct?
Correct. That's what the motion says.
Thank you.
Councillor Richardson, you're against. You wish to debate it? You do. We'll start with you, Councillor Bailey. You've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, those of you who were around back in 2015 when this facility was constructed and opened, at that particular time it was, and still is, the major or part of the major sporting facility within the Northern Corridor. And in 2015 it probably could have been said that the facility was fit for purpose. But what we can't predict is the significant growth within sporting user groups of that facility. Currently, the football club alone has 4 senior men's teams, 1 senior women's team and a masters team, which is for old blokes like me, 15 boys' age teams, 6 girls' teams and 4 levels of Auskick totalling 150 children. That's alone. Now, they're forecasting that next year they could have up to at least 9 women's teams. When you go and have a look at that facility, it's very clear that what was fit for purpose in 2015 is no longer fit for purpose. Change rooms are too small, storage facilities are bursting, and the medical room is way too small for what you get there. But what significant difficulty I saw there was when facilities rooms and meeting rooms that are supposed to be used for public purpose are actually being used for change rooms. Totally inadequate for the level of sport being played there currently. With the growth predicted just in the football club alone before we even touch the cricket club, it's very, very clear that we need to do something with this facility. Keep in mind, councillors, that very shortly we will have a federal election. And sure as there are little green apples, candidates are going to come here looking for something to spend money on. Now, we can throw all sorts of things at them, but what the first thing you're going to ask is, what's the city's commitment and what do we have ready? We can't just sit and say, we've got this, we've got that. They want to see a commitment for what the city's going to do and what the city plans are. So here's our opportunity to get a project ready so that we can leverage the funding that's going to become available at that federal election so we can move forward. So councillors, I think we need to seriously consider moving forward with a project that is ready so that we can take advantage of the spend that will come out of the federal election. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, the seconder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I go back 20 years with the football team and noticed that 20 years ago I've had my son-in-law, my other son, now my grandson involved, and things have changed so fast. As Councillor Bailey had said, we can't predict what goes on. Even up to a few years ago, there were no women's teams. All of a sudden, there's women's teams. So this has to be ready for, as he says, for the elections, federal elections. It needs to be shovel ready because those are the projects that actually get the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. Councillors and members of the gallery, I oppose Councillor Bailey's motion for the following reason. To ensure responsible, detailed and fair budget allocation is applied for the Pierce Ward and for this community facility. This shameless pork barrelling on the eve of an election,
Point of order, Snap.
What's
the
your point of
definition...
Just resume your seat for a moment, please. What's your point?
Comment.
What's your point of order, Councillor Bailey?
Pork barrelling is Deputy Mayor's highly derogatory, totally inappropriate.
Okay. I'll ask for the definition first, and I'll make a determination.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The definition of pork barrelling, the utilisation of government funds for projects designed to please voters or legislators and win votes. Councillor Bailey has a joint election campaign with Councillor Jones.
Okay, I'm going to rule.
Right.
I'm going to rule on that point of
that
order.
then?
I'm going to rule you out of order. I don't think it's appropriate to use that language in this format. I know at federal and state elections, but if we're going to put it on our advocacy list, I don't see it as pork barrelling, so I ask you not to make that comment any further. Thank you.
So Councillor Bailey proposed this motion and estimated himself $100,000 for this upgrade without consulting the other Pierce Ward councillors, and there are 4 in total. For those councillors who did not attend or could not attend, this was the invitation given. On the 22nd of July, an email from Sean Hughes, the junior club representative for the Royals Metro Central Region Development of Council Perth, East Perth and Swan districts, invited all councillors from the City of Swan to view the main community sporting facility on Saturday, August the 7th, 2021, to understand the need for the renovations. The invitation was sent and we were invited to view the main community sporting facility in Ellenbrook, home of the Ellenbrook Junior and Senior Football Clubs, the Ellenbrook Rangers Cricket Club, who coexist with the Dance School, Martial Arts Academy and Community Church. We were invited to view the facility to see why it needed the upgrades and where the difficulties lay. The member for Swan Hills, Jessica Shaw and Tanya Lawrence, Labor candidate for Hasluck, also attended, and they expressed their commitment to working with the clubs and the City of Swan and councils to address the future club needs and potential joint funding. This project is in excess of $100,000. We're looking potentially at joint funding from our elected member and the $100,000 and more into could be low millions. The club will need to consolidate their needs and approach the City of Swan shortly. EDOS North opened in 2015, and those who use the facility, being the football club, the senior football club and the Ellenbrook Rangers and the cricket club, moved in the summer of 2015 and 16. And the City of Swan were thanked then, and the facility questioned as to when the new one was being built and the upgrades might occur, and they were told there wasn't one.
All three noticed significant shortcomings in small change rooms, small facilities, lack of hooks for jumpers' clothing, no privacy for change rooms. The team sizes have increased. It was discussed on that Saturday morning that both the cricket and football teams were already looking at expanding and initiating new programs that would also include gameplay for children and adults with differing needs. The club commenced engagement with the City of Swan facilities and asset management teams, but they found they were very limited in the responses and slightly negative assistance to further this project. Temporary privacy screens were installed that actually took away more room, and we actually experienced that in those change rooms. Once you slide across that temporary privacy screen, it was very cramped and the doors would swing back on people getting changed. So the City of Swan revised and installed those concertina screens, but unfortunately they're only a short-term fix. The car park is also too small from the start, and both behind the facility and adjacent to North Oval, there are approximately 80 bays and 4 Accord parking spaces. The issue was reignited with Jessica Shaw in 2019, and she has committed to this project. We've had a significant increase in junior teams to around 20 teams, and as of 2021, the juniors are at 22 and 6 all-girl sides. They also share with the dance school and martial arts to use the function room, as does the community church on Saturdays. So the lack of appropriate covering for both sun and rain outside and lack of seating and lack of storage. The new community building and pool will reclaim half of the EDOS North car park as well. During this meeting, a presentation and tour of the EDOS Pavilion was undertaken, including a visit to view the change rooms. It was apparent how cramped and lacking in space the change rooms were for a team of male adults. I asked Sean Hughes if there had been any prior consultation to meetings or discussions with Councillor Bailey regarding the motion for the $100,000, and he replied, no, not until 20 minutes before the meeting. I ask you to consider the points I've made for a fair and transparent costing and report to be made and brought to Council to determine the needs of the club and the other sports clubs, community clubs using this facility, and to be evaluated. Once this has occurred, it should be brought back to Council for a briefing. In the event this motion fails, I foreshadow that I will be moving my motion in C1.5. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion. Councillor McNamara.
Mr Deputy Mayor, I have a problem with what Councillor Richardson was saying, because she seemed to be agreeing with everything that the Mayor's motion, the need, she seems to totally agree with the need that's there. And the only difference is that Councillor Richardson has another motion and she would like to see it happen. That's my view. But the issue that I can see is that both of them are exactly the same, except that the Mayor's motion is immediate and it will make a decision for it to happen now. So, Mr Mayor, or Mr Deputy Mayor, I will be supporting that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against the motion. Councillor Scanlon first.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I don't wish to speak long, and I haven't anything prepared for this, but what I would like to say that this is not councillor against councillor. This is two separate motions that we need to consider in front of us. The motion we have on the board there is for the scope and design, the upgrade of the Ellenbrook District open space to ensure that it's happening immediately, as councillors have pointed out. There's been many a time in this chamber where I've asked for simply a report and we can't do that. I've tried to do things and we can't do it. And this is putting money on the budget without a report. I have to say I'm really surprised that Council are entertaining this without a report. I completely agree with the mover of the motion, with the seconder, with the opposing councillor on the reasons for this upgrade being necessary. But we really do need to consider how we're managing the ratepayers' funds, and to put money on the budget without a report, I don't believe that's in the best interests of our ratepayers. There may be much more information to this that we need to know to be able to make the right decision. So I'd like to urge you all to please support Councillor Richardson's motion in favour of this motion, so that we can have all the information in front of us, because as it stands, we do not have all the information in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I ask people in the gallery to refrain from clapping. Speaker for the motion. Question, Councillor Kiley.
Deputy Mayor, apologies. I'm interested in the timing in terms of a federal election and how that might play. I mean, that seems to be a very pertinent point and a distinction between the two motions, that one would potentially be eligible for federal funding. Just in terms of a timing, when would we get a scoping and design stage report back to council if we did allocate the $100,000?
Mr Coaten, can you enlighten us, please?
I can't give you an exact timing. No, the concept designs could be done fairly quickly. So we could get something done in a couple of months in relation to that. Obviously, a full detailed design would take a lot longer.
I'd be interested in a design that. Sorry, Mr Coaten. I'd be interested in how long would it take to get a design ready that we could take to a federal member for approval for funding.
That could probably be done in a couple of months. They're only generally concept designs, not the detailed designs, so that could be done fairly quickly.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion.
A question.
Question, Councillor Johnson.
As we've been talking about timeframes for producing a report, how does that fit with the likely timeframe for the election and the political parties' determination of whether they're going to make funding promises? Can anybody answer that one? Through you, Mr Mayor.
Well, if anyone can enlighten me as to when the next federal election is, I'll be happy to know also, but that's up to the Prime Minister, and he doesn't ring me and tell me these things, so I can't say. But I did note a federal candidate for the next election was at our the meeting we attended last night, so I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. Speaker against the motion, Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. So having established that both of these motions are likely to be to provide a report before the election, or at least both are equally likely or unlikely, I do believe we should do something about the Ellenbrook District open space. But I think that Councillor Richardson's motion is a little bit better, and I'll come on to that shortly. I was there when the building was opened. I was very impressed with it at the time. I was a brand new councillor. I thought, oh, well, we do wonderful things, don't we, here on the City of Swan? But now, having been through the building and having its shortcomings shown to me 2 or 3 weeks ago, I recognise something needs to be done. I don't believe it's because it was designed wrong. I think it's basically population has increased, sport's more popular, and now we've got women's sport. So it's like exploded by a factor of 10, I think. So the building's going to need to be enhanced and made bigger. The reason for preferring Councillor Richardson's motion over Councillor Bailey's motion is partly to do with how do we know it's 100k that's needed. It feels like a rabbit that's been pulled out of a hat in September. And we know what's happening in the next few weeks. Now, it's my view, having been a councillor for 6 years, that the process for putting an idea like this through council goes along these lines. First, we become aware of the problem. The next stage is community engagement, or community engagement comes first. At this point, there might be a petition. And then we ask questions of staff informally. How is it that this building is not big enough? Then we get some answers. And then we put questions on notice on Section 10, and we get answers from the staff. So at that point, we formalise the questions and the answers. We have a clear understanding of where we're going, what the issue is, what needs to be addressed. So at that point, the staff are on notice there's a motion coming. And then the way of getting it in front of council is either through a petition from the community themselves, which ultimately brings a report back to council, or the ward councillors or other councillors can bring a motion on notice, such as what we've got here, for a report. Council resolves that, and then there's a report from the staff, and the staff will advise the next stage. You know, we might need some money for a feasibility study, and the staff will determine how much money is needed for the feasibility study. They bring that to council. Then there's a resolution to proceed to put money on the budget. That's my understanding of the process. What's happened here is we seem to have shortcutted that process. We're saying, oh dear, the changing rooms are too small. We're all in agreement. Let's put 100k on the budget. Then every time I've ever put a report up, people go, how much will it cost? Ask the staff. Well, I don't think we've done that. So we haven't actually been through that process of asking the staff, engaging in a thorough way and getting an answer. And I'm pretty confident we can do all this by the federal election. At least we've not heard that it can't be done. So that's my reason for supporting Councillor Richardson's motion over this particular motion. So I think it's Councillor Richardson's motion follows due process, and we'll get the same result in the same time frame. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion, Councillor Kiley first.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, if you look at an earlier report in the same agenda, I think we dealt with it last week, you will see that there are significant savings through various items that we have available money in our budget to allocate to make this $100,000 payment. And I am concerned, and I thank both ward councillors for raising this issue and identifying that there is actually a problem, and I think all 4 ward councillors will agree that there is an issue here. And I'm more inclined to agree and not have a report come back to council simply to identify what we already know. And given that there may be an early election, I'm not too sure, but I would like to see the growing Ellenbrook community be serviced by a better facility, and I would not want that cost to be loaded onto the City of Swan ratepayer if we missed out on that opportunity to go to get the funding through a federal election. I know that major parties start to discuss where they will be putting that funding a long way out, and start forming and want to know the information from councils as to where they could potentially put that funding. So I would think this report would have to come back to council very quickly, and I think the most appropriate way is that we allocate the $100,000 now and get this feasibility study done. It does not mean that we're going to go ahead with the actual work. It's allocating up to $100,000. We may not spend anywhere near that, but I think, one, the work needs to be done.
Point of order.
Two, there is...
What's your point of order, please?
The motion says allocate $100,000. It doesn't say up to $100,000.
Well, can I? It's a budget process, councillor.
Okay,
That's...
I'm going to rule the point of order out. If you allocate the money, you don't have to spend the entire amount. So keep going, Councillor Kiley, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So, one, we have the money for it in the budget from other means. Two, there is a clear need for this refurbishment. And thirdly, we don't have to be actually constructing it. We're simply going to get this report back in a suitable time where we could go to a federal member and ask for that funding. So I will be supporting Councillor Bailey's motion.
Thank you. Speaker against the motion. Speakers for the motion. Councillor Congdon.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Like a few councillors who attended the day, I was there and I did go through the premises, and I must say it was pretty tight in all areas of that club rooms and facilities. Councillor Richardson's motion sadly doesn't come free of cost. The city staff to prepare a report would also entail a cost, which is not mentioned in your recommendation. And so either one of them have a cost mechanism for delivering one, Councillor Bailey's in a shovel-ready project, possibly, and the other one in going through a far more detailed report without a cost mechanism sitting to it. I think the sports people and communities of Ellenbrook deserve an upgrade to this facility, and whether it is the City of Swan, the federal government, and I did hear mentioned by Councillor Richardson that you said that Jessica had indicated support for the project. So maybe there's some money that we don't know about in the state coffers of $3.4 billion that they currently sit with. So I would support this to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against the motion? Any other speakers for or against the motion? Question. Councillor Scanlon.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask a couple of questions through you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'd like to ask what is the cost of producing a report for council? Because when this is normally asked, I normally hear that's the cost of staff time, but I don't actually know how much that is. So how much is a report? And the second question is, what will the 100,000 actually get us?
Thank you. Ms CEO, I direct that to Mr Coaten or Ms Lay.
Yeah.
What do we get for 100,000?
Yeah, Mr Deputy Mayor, I mean, the indirect costs of staff time is not quantifiable. So, I mean, you don't know how much time they'll actually put into that. So that's a little bit of an unknown. The actual cost of providing the scoping and design, maybe Mr Coaten may be able to give a better indication in terms of that.
Yeah, well, it depends on the scope of the works, but for the work that I would expect that would be the council is talking about for this, I would suggest that $100,000, that would give you, certainly it would give you the concept designs, and it would probably give you the detailed designs and documentation as well.
Any other speakers for or against? Not at this stage. Your right of reply, please. Thanks, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. And interesting enough that just about every speaker increased the list of issues that we need to fix with this facility. To clear up one point, 100K quoted wasn't a fictional character. Mr Coaten actually supplied the figure, and given that Mr Coaten's in charge of building stuff, I think he'd have a pretty fair idea what we're doing here. Councillors, we need to be ready at every opportunity.
What's your point of order? Thank you.
I noticed that there was an expression on Mr Coaten's face that was disagreeing with what the Mayor was saying.
Well, Mr Coaten certainly assisted with writing the motion. Is that correct, Mr Coaten?
I'd have to refresh my memory on that.
Well, I think mine's pretty good. Thanks, Mr Coaten. So,
okay, there is no point of order. Continue, thank you.
And Mr Coaten has already quoted that that would be sufficient funds to bring this project to the point where we could advocate with federal funding. But getting back to my original statement, we need to be ready at any time to take opportunities when they come to us. And a federal election is looming, and we have a responsibility to our ratepayers to take advantage of every opportunity we can to raise funds. So, councillors, I encourage us to move forward with this refurbishment, start to do our design and plan for it, so when the opportunity presents itself, we can grab it with both hands. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I'm now going to put the motion. Those in favour of Councillor Henderson, Councillor Jones, Councillor McCulloch, Councillor Congdon, Councillor McNamara, myself, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Zanino and Councillor Kiley. I declare the motion carried, and those against were Councillor Scanlon, Councillor Richardson, Councillor Johnson and Councillor Catalano. Thank you. That takes us on to the next item, and I'll hand back to the Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillors, that takes us now to 1.5, and it's Councillor Congdon.
No, I don't have to.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So my motion is that Council resolve to write to the Minister for Transport requesting funding for the construction of a roundabout at the intersection of Hepburn Avenue, Marangaroo Drive, Ballajura. The reason for the motion is Marangaroo Drive and Hepburn Avenue are considered to be a dangerous T intersection and a traffic congested point.
Second up, Councillor McNamara. Is there anyone against? Question, Councillor Catalano.
Thank you. Funding request. Minister Trampford. That's fine, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone against? We'll clear that carried. Councillors, now we deal with a item of urgent business, which is item 3.1, and a revocation motion from Councillor Kiley on item 4.14, the proposed use of a portion of land for recreation private gym and veterinary centre, including associated building works at lot 23 Banara Road. Councillor Kiley, you are proposing a revocation motion, and it is on there on the screen.
Do I have required to read that out, Mayor?
How much is the bottom half? I think you
if I could
just read the highlighted portion, and then down the bottom will be the reason. We'll scroll down that when you get to it.
my motion, revocation motion, councillors, would be that Council resolves to revoke the decision for item 4.14 proposed use of portion of land for recreation, private, gym and veterinary centre, including associated buildings and works at lot 23 Benara Road, Caversham, DA 284-21 for the en bloc vote, from the en bloc vote.
Okay, and just scroll down, Megan, and the reason there.
A reason for the motion is that Mayor, CEO, I might ask you to explain that one.
Mr. CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Kiley's wishing to revoke the en bloc one because of the fact that he wished to put a deferral in on the night, and it was inadvertently missed by the staff in terms of dealing with it on the night. So Councillor Kiley is actually seeking for the rescission, and will need 5 councillors to do that, and then it will be a deferral.
Okay. So
I might also point out, Mayor, I think at a future council meeting I will ask that the en bloc vote be dealt with at the end of the meeting rather than at the start of the meeting,
okay,
but that's a separate issue now, yes, thank you.
Okay, so councillors, I just need a show of hands, 5 to support the revocation. I'll take Councillor Zanino, you're already in, so I need 4 more. Councillor Congdon, I think you were first up, Councillor Henderson, Councillor McNamara and Councillor Johnson, I think was pretty much the way I saw them go up. Is that 5? Okay, right. So now, Councillor, you just need to move your alternate for the deferral. Okay. Well, you've got your 5 signatures, so now you've moved...
Councillors, I move to defer item 4.14 to the next...
Hang on. So you've got your 5 signatures to move the revocation motion. So we now put the revocation motion. Those in favour of the revocation motion? Okay, and I need a seconder too, sorry. I need a seconder. Okay, second to Councillor Congdon. Those in favour? Yep. Yeah, okay, I heard it. Yeah, you've got a question, Councillor Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, I'd like to ask the mover what his proposed amendment is.
Well, we're just voting on the deferral, the revocation at the moment, and then he'll put the second motion.
Okay, thank you.
So those all in favour? Okay. Councillor Richards, are you against? Okay. Okay, just carried unanimously. Councillor Kiley, if you just move your turn. Are you against? Okay. Do you wish to debate it? No. Councillor Lucas was against. Sorry, Deputy.
Just to clarify, Mr Mayor, we had Councillor Richardson. You were for?
Yeah. So Councillor Lucas was against. Okay. So Councillor Kiley, you're...
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, my motion is to defer item 4.14, and the reason for that is 1, to permit an assessment of the existing approval conditions in relation to parking and truck movements, and 2, meet with the applicant to determine if there can be an improved design, any improved design outcomes. 3, allow time to determine if there are any safety issues for pedestrian movements across the total site, given the intensification of the site, lack of pedestrian pathways and the increase in expected traffic movements. And 4, determine if the sharp corner provided in the plan is capable of permitting truck turning or access.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Catalano, is there anyone against? There is. Councillor Lucas, wish to debate it? No. In that case, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. The only one against is Councillor Lucas. Okay, councillors, that takes care of all of the items we need to deal with. Notice the motion to be considered at the following meeting. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. That the Council requests the CEO to prepare a report on the feasibility of installing sports, lights and toilet facilities on the oval at the Ellenbrook Secondary College to enable it to be used by the community for sporting activities outside of school hours. The reason is that the City currently has a joint use agreement with the school for the use of this oval. Installing lights and toilet facilities will enable it to be used for sporting activities on a regular basis.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other notices, councillors, for next council meeting? Councillor Zanino.
I am contemplating moving, but I need to consult with the CEO, so I will... Yes.
Okay. Any others, councillors? If there's no others, councillors, we declare the meeting closed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, in the gallery, and now I should leave as we return back to our briefing sessions. Thank you.